Let me start the presentation. So here on the slide, you can see that currently I am a vice president of Tesol, Ukraine. I teach at Kuwait State University, which is a pedagogical university, and I also own my language school. And it's not just the language school, we also have bilingual education, and I am very greatly interested in how to make this education really effective, how to enhance any type of education. So today I will be sharing with you everything that I have already learned and everything that I have already discovered about teaching. And please post your comments or questions in the chat. We'll have some time in the end, and I will answer your comments or your questions if there are any. So today we'll start with the generations theory, and I guess there is nothing new for you here, because we as teachers of English always talk about millennials, post-millennials, generations Z and Alpha, and many other topics are connected with generations gaps. And for us, the theory is mainly interesting in terms of how different the teachers are from the students, and what should teachers do to make the learning of our students a better journey. So, and again, I teach different or various age groups. Some age groups, I don't teach, but I observe and advise on how to teach kids, then school children, pupils, teenagers, young adults, and sometimes I even work with seniors, but mainly as advisor, mainly advising what to do. So here are the characteristics of the generations, and if you could just think for a minute and answer this question, what is that you find makes you different from the next generation or from the previous generation? And are there any difficulties that you experience, and let me know how you deal with them. So please put your comments in the chat. Okay, I don't see your comments yet, maybe then, yeah, so, and we'll go on here, just a second. So let's see what makes ours or what makes this generation of students so different. Mainly teachers answer that they are clip thinkers. They don't think in long sentences or large texts, long reads. They have shorter attention span, and as the result, it is rather difficult to make them interested, to get their feedback, and even to make them talk. So teachers motivate them by using technology, by grouping materials, and that's what we do. I have discovered that it really helps if we visualize and structure all the material that we offer to our learners. For example, this is the part of a map where we compare digital natives and teachers. And we see here that our students who are digital natives and were born after 2000, they grew up with devices in their hands, and consequently, internet became the part of their lives. So, computer devices and internet connection influenced new generation, and here we see what are the the impact of computers is, and what the consequences are. So obviously computers provide information on all topics, so modern students don't need to remember anything by heart, and they may find it online anytime, and we as teachers need to develop students' memory, and later I will show how. So then computers gave us abundance of information, and it is really impossible to read and to grasp everything. So our students have developed clip thinking, and we as teachers need to transform clip thinking into linear thinking. So then computers, they give short catchy sentences to attract attention, and as a result our students started thinking in tweets. So we as teachers need to start with small bits of information, and we need to expand this information the more we teach. Like we start with some info and then give more and more. For example, if I was teaching the whole course on how to teach digital natives, I would start with this, and then I would give you more and more information on what clip thinking is, how to develop it into linear thinking, and what we do to enhance our students' learning. And finally, all texts have hyperlinks. So it's easy for modern students to switch from one text to the other website or text and go back again. And it doesn't create the holistic picture in the brains of our students. It's like a puzzle. So students usually have to build, to create the whole new picture from these small puzzles. And all in all, like all these characteristics make our students a rather difficult generation to teach, but now I'm going to share what my tips on teaching these difficult learners are. And if you look at this map, if you look at the scheme, you will see that it already has blocks. The blocks have different coloring, and we can read the scheme this way to characterize digital natives, for example, or to characterize teachers, or to think of computer devices and internet connection and characterize it like, or we can build these three categories in one sentence, and we can talk about how computers, which do this, influence digital natives who, as a result, are characterized by something, and what teachers need to do. So actually, this is the type of the scheme. This is the type of the mental map, the type of metacognitive scheme that works really good with today's students. And 3 points are important here. First, we use different shapes. I can talk about it later if you need. If you want, you can ask me this question. We use different shapes. We use categories, and we also use different colors, and we combine them for making information visible, chunked, and easier understood. So, okay, now let's add more points to what we're going to talk about today. We'll overview how the material is given, and we'll talk about the 4 phases of learning. We'll discuss, or I will tell you about the strategies for building metacognitive schemes. And then I will tell you about the 4 phases of learning. This is my favorite theory, and it tells that you never learn anything in one class. And we have to plan for the whole year and for a longer time. And 4 phases of learning are much connected with the concepts of spiral curriculum or sticky learning. This is when we make our students review, when we recycle all the time the different topics in different combinations. Okay, so let's look at the whole map. That is the whole map, and this map, with the help of this map, I teach my colleagues how to teach modern students. You see that here we have this part that we have already looked at, and also there are the tips what we need to do. If we want to develop students' memory, we need to categorize the information. If we want to make the information more comprehensible, we need to visualize and scaffold. If we transform our students' clip thinking into linear thinking, we do it with the help of the development of thinking skills. And I would always advise to use the 4 phases of learning. I would always advise to go through impression, memorization, authorization, and initiation. And now I will show you how. So, conclusion, like very small conclusion at this moment. We have to remember that our students are clip thinkers, that it's difficult to teach them long texts, but we can teach them by combining the bits of their thinking enter the linear whole. And the linear thinking is already the type of thinking that is required for doing more academic jobs. So, rebrushing. Tip number 1, we need to categorize the information. And if you look at this map, at this metacognitive scheme, you will see that all information is categorized. We can talk about computers, we can talk about digital natives who are our students, we can talk about teachers, and we can talk about different theories for teaching digital natives, which are categorization, visualization, scaffolding, development of thinking skills, the 4 phases of learning, and sticky learning or learning cycle. Like this is the map, or this is the theory that for me combines everything that a modern teacher should know about teaching students. The more you follow this pattern, the easier for you to deal with the material, and the easier it's for you to deal with your students. Because here you can go back, you can review, you can get more information on each of the points, and with the help of such maps, you can progress with your students, or your students can progress immensely. So, categorize. It's tip number 1. And here are some words about categorization. I am a big proponent of categorization, because scientists say that our brain categorizes all the time. And if you could go back even a couple of minutes before, you would notice that your brain has already categorized, or you put lots of categories, or you, like in your brain, you already entered lots of categories when you saw me, because I'm a woman. You can talk about my age, you can place me into the teacher category or professor category. And categorization is what we do, what we always do as humans. And the data shows that there are lots of categories in our heads. So why not? Why don't we use this human peculiarity for teaching English? We could easily do so. Categorization, and please categorize. The more you categorize, the better. And here is the map, it shows what categories you may think of when you are a teacher of English. For example, let's think of anything, any object, anything. So a person or an object, just anything. This object will have its properties, like colors, shape, size, weight, material, touch, sound, taste. Not all of them, but still some of them. Yeah. So the object may have functions like the physical perception, mental process, emotional perception, movements, creating something, like what an object can do, what functions it has. It exists somewhere. So we can say where, when, and so on about the object. And we also can compare the object to something. So, and any object can belong to the bigger system. Like, for example, if we had here a chair would belong to furniture, and it always will have its parts. Like a chair would have such parts as legs and seat and so on. So, and that is how we can describe any object. And these are the basic categories for learning. So, like, you may check with your students what they can tell you about any object, how many words they know concerning any object. And in your native language, you would probably be able to characterize any object easily. but it's much more difficult when you do it in a foreign language. So think of this. Think how important it is to touch this different characteristics of an object and think about them. And another important moment is that there can't be many categories when you're making a map. Usually it's not more than 4. 7 categories even would be more, too much, yeah? Like more, and the categories have to be connected. And then these categories, they create a connected image or coherent image in the brain of a learner. So coloring is important, and let's analyze this map again. We have 4 main categories. They are who our learners are, they're digital natives, who the teachers are, they may be digital immigrants, but not now. Still, it's more what teachers want to achieve with their students. We have the characteristics of computers, and we also have the ways of dealing with modern students. So this is a good map, but that is not the map for learning English. And now I will show you the map for learning English. I've created hundreds of maps like this, and in my schools at the university, I usually teach via this metacognitive schemes, and that is how my students know a lot. So, and remember, we talked about the spiral curriculum, the sticky learning, and the presentation of information. This is also important. Like, you create a map, you use 4 categories or more, you use the colors, you structure the information. And next question is, what for do you create this map? What is how will you use this map? What will you do with this cognitive scheme when you teach? Yeah. So, and usually I would advise to think of learning as of 4 phases. At first, you impress your students and they get this impression. If you could think of a new room, a new classroom that you enter. You entered the classroom, and what have you noticed? What's your first impression? Your first impression will probably be if this room is larger or small, the number of windows, the board, so some furniture, but you will never remember all the details. For remembering the details, you will need to go through the memorizing scheme stage. At this stage, for this, you need to enter and stay in the room, not once. Yeah? So it should be several times or even the whole semester. And after you've stayed in the room for many times, you will be able to tell more details. You will tell what the color of the walls are, or even if there are any stains of the walls. You will know some details about the chairs. So you will notice lots of details, but you will never do it at the very beginning. So, and it means that after impressing, you will go to the memorizing stage. So now let's see what happens then. Impressing stage, gives you the first impression, and that is when our students are impressed with the map. We study the topic, and then we give the map to the students, and we start working with it. But it doesn't mean that they will learn everything very quickly. No. Remember, they don't have this robust memory. They really need to go back all the time. They really need to keep building the structures in their heads. So we'll be getting back to the parts of the map all the time. And the stage is called memorization. So we'll be doing lots of tasks, exercises, like we'll use all the possible teaching tools, and every time we'll be getting back to the map. We'll be getting back to this information that is structured in one metacognitive scheme. And that is how our students will be building this holistic picture in their heads. And that is how it will be easier for them to go from one category to another, to build more difficult tasks, to think of more, like to build more difficult, not difficult, but to build more advanced speaking, and to develop their knowledge of the subject and to connect it with the other subjects. So after we have worked a lot with the map and with the topic, we will still should be aware that the brain works so that it will edit the neural net, and we as teachers, we also don't remember all material well until we rebrush it. So we should see our students the same way. They don't remember, they can't just remember everything we tell them. So their neural net will edit what we teach them, and not all the information will be in their heads. And finally, there is the moment which is called the initiation stage, and only at this stage the time for official representation of the knowledge comes. Like we never give tests like from class to class. We never ask our students to learn something by heart from this class to another class and test it, because we know that they just can't do it. They need extra time for processing the information, for finding the connections, and it will be really necessary for them to go back to the information, and it will help them to build a more holistic picture. And also it will help them to get ready for the test. So for testing is the next step. And testing is the step when we see that our students are ready. Yeah? So only then we allow, like we test them. So once again, the first stage is impressing. We show the map. Next stage is memorization. We do the tasks, but we also always go back to the map and review, rebrush, make connections. Then we as teachers understand that at this or that moment our students will forget part of everything that we are telling them, because that is how the human brain works. And only then we test them. And at this stage, when we test our students, we also give them the chance to improve. Because after we have tested them, we see where they have problems, and we also see that where we need to work at. It's easier to do with the map, because having the scheme, it's easier to see the gaps in their knowledge for the teacher. So if you need, I will send you this presentation, because it also shows how we teach. Very briefly, I will do it, how we teach, for example, personality traits. This is the basic map on personality traits. You see that there are different traits such as intelligence, communication with other people, nature, and working style. And these are the categories. And also, each category has its colors. And when you look at the words, you will see that they are differently colored as well. That is for word building. That is for understanding how the English language works. And these are the possible questions at the initiation stage. We'll give students the map and we'll ask them about categories, subcategories, and so on. Then and that will be the impression stage. So then at the memorizing stage, we'll ask them to think more about the categories and about the vocabulary. For example, we'll ask them to name the groups. So we'll ask them to think of nouns for these adjectives. And that is how they will be working more with the adjectives. And here the tasks may be more advanced, like we can think of odd man out, we can think of analogies, and we also can do lots of exercises. So, and that is how the memorizing stage will go on. Again, it will last for not 1 year. It can even be longer, if you understand that probably not all the words can be learned in 1 year, so it can take longer time. At the authorization stage, we understand that students still need the map to remember the information. They go back. If they forgot something, they have maps in their portfolios, and you send them back to the map if they need any revision. And here, like we can describe like personalities, we can think of the stories. So we will be using this map all the time when we talk about personal character traits. And that's how our students will remember what they haven't learned yet. And only at the initiation stage, we'll start testing them, and the tests may look like this. When you think of the right adjective, or just when you do different word building, this is how the tests look like. And also, Bloom's taxonomy always works well. You can use any map and ask questions using Bloom's taxonomy. And now, like that is the final moment. Let's look at the map on lodgings and like lodging establishments on hotels. So look who is here. There is a simpler map, and look who is here. Here are the guests, and they would be business traveler, holiday maker, tourist traveler, and they stay at lodging establishments, at the hotels, because they travel on business and so on. We can characterize lodgings by such categories as hotels and hostels, and obviously some tourists will need cheaper housing, cheaper lodging. And also there is another type of people here. It's personnel. They are receptionists, hotel manager, and so on. And they also do different actions. In the lodgings, we have amenities and which are building, equipment, services. And always it's important to think of catering, what people will eat there. And we can think of catering, no catering, breakfast included, and so on, and such characteristics as bathroom.
Excuse me, Dr. Maryna, I hate to break in, but we only have 5 minutes before this ends. So would you be willing to take questions now?
Sure. That was already the end, yeah. And
I want to ask you, guys, please do not type your email addresses in the chat box. You have no privacy when you do that. Okay, Dr. Maryna will share the link for her handouts, which next week we will put on the Tesol Kuwait site so that you can download this. Also, we are recording this session. It will be available in a couple of days. You'll go into the page where the conference schedule is, and instead of the Zoom link, there will be a link to watch the presentation, the video. Also, it will be on our YouTube channel. And I'm so glad about, we need more of this lecture. Believe me, I love this. It explained a lot of the problems that we face in the classroom when you announce things 300 different times and they come up afterwards and go, Doctora, what are we supposed to do? So this was very good. I hope, Dr. Maryna, that you will come back and present one of our webinars, because we have
I could do the whole series of webinars because I feel that everyone needs to know this theory, and it would be so much easier. As I'm in Ukraine, I understand how difficult it is to teach students who are not in the language environment. And we all want to be effective as teachers. And to be effective with modern learners, you really need to change what you do. And I could help you with this.
That would be wonderful. Either I or Dr. Reem Kanai will be in touch with you about setting up this, because our webinars to everyone, we have them once a month, and they're usually the first Saturday of the month, and they are virtual. Okay, I'm so sorry we have run out of time because
no problem. It was a pleasure for me to be with you, and I'm really excited that you have the same problems, because when we have similar problems, we can share lots of ideas, and these ideas, they're cutting edge new. They are very new, and I would love to share them with as many people as possible.
Well, thank you so much. I cannot wait to get this downloaded so that I can watch it. Okay, thank you again. I'm sorry we are out of time. We have our next, we will have 3 parallel sessions coming up at 4:35. Okay, have a very good day. Look forward to seeing you later. Thank you so much, Dr. Maryna.
You too. And hope to meet your wonderful community again. Thank you.
Bye-bye.